everybody. Wayne back here with another economics video. So you would have seen in my previous video I talked about price discrimination. So in today's video it's a little bit related to price discrimination, but I'm focusing on one particular area, shall I say, of price discrimination, and that is second degree price discrimination. And then again I'm actually focusing on one particular area of second degree price discrimination as well. And hopefully you'll find this interesting because this is actually kind of all around us, and it's something that maybe not everybody is aware of how this actually works. So I'm going to explain to you how commodity bundling works and how it may be beneficial to us as well as beneficial to the firms that are actually practicing this. So a lot of times people will think, oh, the firms are doing this, they're charging different people different prices and stuff, they're exploiting us and stuff like that. And in some cases that might be the case, but I think mostly when we look at commodity bundling, it actually is kind of a benefit to both sides, to both the buyers and the sellers. But anyway, I'll leave that up to you in terms of what you think as I go through this video and explain exactly what it's about. So as you can see here, this is probably the most common example of commodity bundling. And that is when you go to a fast food restaurant. And McDonald's is a great example of that. You go there and you look at the menu, and you'll see on the menu, you've got all these different items. You've got burgers, you've got fries, you may have sandwiches, maybe they have sandwiches, you've got apple pie, ice creams, all sorts of stuff on there. And you also see as well, another part of the menu, they have what they call meals. And they have like the Happy Meal, which is for children. They've got all the little tiny sizes and stuff like that. Maybe a free toy or something. And then they've got these other types of meals, which, you know, could include your drink, your fries, drink fries, burger or sandwich, maybe nuggets. And I think some of them even have ice cream. I remember I got that from, what was it, Burger King I think it was. They had actually ice cream in there. So it was one of those rare meals, but anyway, a lot of the time they don't have the dessert, but anyway, it's intended to be as a meal, and the price of this meal tends to be a little bit less than if you bought them individually. As you can see here, I've got this guy here I picked up as one of the toys from McDonald's. It's Mr. Kiasu. In Singapore they have a Mr. Kiasu series. I think it was in books, I think it's a form of a cartoon, but at the time they were giving it away free, and I thought, well, you know, this is an ideal example here. As you can see here, Mr. Kiasu, he's got what we call a meal. In fact, he may have two meals there, 2 drinks, 2 fries, 2 burgers. And on the other side, he's holding up his little ice cream and his little drink. And if you're going into McDonald's and you want a full meal, it's definitely worth going for the bundle, going for the meal deal, whatever it is, because it is generally a bit cheaper, and rather than buying them all individually. Unless, of course, they don't have the combination you like. But McDonald's is renowned for being very flexible in terms of the meals that they offer. So they might offer you a burger meal, which could be any of the burgers, and you've got a complete choice of drinks as well. So it works pretty well for the consumer. You go in there for the buyer to actually go with their deal options. As you can see here, this guy, Mr. Kiasu, is fairly happy about this option. Before I go any further, I'm going to sort of explain it more or less, commodity bundling in the context of fast food. It's kind of the easiest one, but it's not just fast food as well. It can be in like lots of other things as well. Like for example, you have cars, and you buy the car new, for example, and there could be a lot of things that come with it, or it could be hardly anything. And there's sort of levels of customization, like, you know, you get the car and you might have certain safety features. It's a lot cheaper to get them put in there when it's first built than it would be to get them later on. So that is a kind of form of commodity bundling. You can see with the PlayStation, they often have PlayStation bundles. Another form of commodity bundling, compatibility. I'll briefly talk about compatibility later on. And of course, computers as well. And computers, depending on what sort of computer you get, I got a laptop here, so that just pretty much everything came together. It was almost like a bundle forced upon me. But I think some people still buy the what we call the desktop computers, and they got all the various components. They got the hard drive, they've got the speakers, they've got the monitors, they've got the sound cards, all sorts of stuff that comes, and they can actually buy those all separately, or they could buy them together as a bundle. And in the case of these, I think the bundles are actually probably a little bit more, simply because of the convenience of actually having it all together than if you actually buy them separately. But again, that's for people who like to assemble computers, so there's a certain skill in that in itself. So that again is a kind of a form of commodity bundling. Alright, so let's now get back to fast food focus. Shall we have commodity bundling? There's a certain skill to this. firms could make a lot of money out of bundling their stuff. There's also the potential they could lose money as well. And when you bundle stuff, it tends to be stuff that are complementary in nature to them. Like, for example, we have what we got here. What has we got this? We got Paul Heyman putting together the Impossible Burger, spicy chips, and a bubble tea. So you can see you have like the main part is the burger, you've got the chips as the side, and you've got the drink accompany. And this is something a lot of people might be interested in, will buy together. You can see here the crowd is responding, yes please. So it's a good combination of complementary goods bundled together. But they could also make a mistake as well. As you can see here, we've got onion rings, curry chips, waffles, and mashed potato. And he's throwing that in for $12. And that could actually still be cheaper than buying them individually, but maybe not many people would actually want to buy that combination, because it's a combination of a lot of different sides. So it may not appeal to many people, especially going in there, you want to have a meal, there's no drink in that, there's no burger in that as the main part of the meal, just lots of sides. So sides could be good if you've got a kids party coming in, you've got lots of kids in there, and they have lots of sides and they can share them around. So that could be for that intended audience, but it may not be particularly popular with most of the people that come in. So this sort of commodity bundling would be sort of a fail, simply because people didn't adopt it. But there's also a possibility that commodity bundling could fail even if it is a good combination of goods, but the pricing hasn't actually worked out particularly well. So what I'm going to do now is quickly run through an example, and this is the same example, I think more or less the same example as I have in my post. So I got a previous post on commodity bundling, so that is in the descriptions. You can just click on that and you can read it. But I'm going to explain the example in that post here. So what I've got here, we've got a business. It could be any form of business. Let's just assume it's fast food. And they are selling 5 products. And we've got 20 people that are going into the shop. And they all have their different willingness to pay for each of those products. So take a look at this. I'll include, I think it's included in the post itself. If you're looking at this on Steemit, you'll probably see that. You can spend a little bit more time taking a look at it. So these are just numbers I've just thrown out. It actually works very nicely. I'll show it in the graphs in a moment. But people's willingness to pay for these 5 goods. So what's next? So now I've got demand and supply. Well, in this case, I've got demand and cost. I've got a flat line cost for each one of these. So this will relate to the people I showed just now, those 20 people with their willingness to pay for each good. So what we have here, we have 5 goods, and we've got 4 prices. So we've got the green is for good C, yellow for good D, blue for good A, and lavender for goods B and E. And what do we have in terms of cost? So for good C, I think that is a cost of $4.50. For yellow is good D, that will be a cost of $2.50. We got the blue for good A, I think that's 2, and for goods B and E, it will be $1.50. So I made this very, very simple. And as you can see, you've got the prices there. So sort of maximize the price, which would come out as a quantity based on the 20 people, I think it is, would be a quantity of 8. So I think it's actually 7.5, 7.5. So that is actually a profit of 0.7 or 70 cents per each product. This is very, very simple, very basic cost structure. I won't think too much about it. It's just to explain the example of how commodity bundling works. Okay, so how does that feed in now? So like I said, if you're looking at this on Steam, it's also worth you taking a look at the people and the goods, the willingness to pay when you're looking at this as well. But this is just a quick summary. So I've written a yes for the people that are willing to buy particularly goods. So for example, you've got person 1, and they're only willing, and the price is being offered to buy good B. So that's just 1, and I got in the column there. The far right side is just 1, whereas you got someone like person 15, they're actually willing to buy A, B, C, and D. So that's 4 they're willing to buy of the 5. And it's all different for different people, but as I work this out, I've got it as exactly 8 for each good is actually sold. Should we say 8 of each good is being actually sold. So that comes out as a total of 80 goods that are sold. So if you work that out, so you got, sorry not 80, sorry 40. So you've got 8 of each of the 5. So you add all that up, that comes to 40. And then you multiply the 40 by the profit, and that should give you 28. I think it should be $28. Remember that number? $28. That's just selling things individually. So now, I think that comes to what is it, like $15.30 the package would be originally. So the price of the package now is part of the bundle, which will include all 5, A, B, C, D, and E, at $14.40. And I've used this number just to demonstrate you can actually make a profit if you price it correctly. And this is just one type of bundling. You can have many, many different types of bundling, and this is just all of them thrown in, all 5 goods. So this is kind of a bit extreme, expecting people to buy everything that you're selling. But anyway, so we've got here 3 people. We've got person 7, 15, and 20. And these 3 people would prefer to buy the bundle than to buy them individually. So you've got person 7, they would have bought 3. They would have bought 3. Which 3 person 7 buy? They would have bought B, but they would have bought 2, I apologise. They would have bought B and E. So they would have just bought 2. Whereas person 15 and 20, they would have bought 4. So which 4 did they buy? So 15 would have bought, there we go, A, B, C, and D. And 20 would have bought A, C, D, and E. And now because it's come as a bundle, they would buy the missing one that they don't have, both 15 and 20. Whereas person 7 would have bought an extra 3. And because they bought an extra 3, you actually make a profit, an additional profit, should I say, of $1. So the profit initially, 70 cents on each good, so that would have been $1.40. And now because it is $14.40 is $2.40 more than the cost, so that would be a profit of $2.40. So you get a profit of $2.40 from 7, 15, and 20 as they bought the bundle. But for 15 and 20, the profit would be less by 40 cents. So 15 and 20, you lose 40 cents per person. So that's a total of 80 cents lost. But you make $1 from person 7. So therefore, you get an additional profit of 20 cents. So this is fairly straightforward, and you have to bear in mind that the number of customers have not changed. You have the exact same number of customers that are just buying slightly different proportions of the goods. So they're either buying the bundle or individually as they would have before. And because you got someone like person 7 that only bought 2 and now getting 5, you make quite a bit. There could be quite a few person type 7s around, if you know what I mean? So you probably have to add all those up. This is a very basic example. Both 15 and 20, the profit is less. But you have to bear in mind that they have chosen to go with the bundle because they get a higher consumer surplus. I don't have the numbers on that here. I think that's explained in the other post, exactly what that difference in consumer surplus is and why they would have chosen to go with the bundle. So in the case of person 7, both the firm has made money and the consumer is better off. For the other 2, the consumer is better off and the firm is slightly worse off, but the net effect is the firm is also better off as well. So that's quite interesting. But it doesn't end there, and that's just one part of it. Because I mentioned just now that we're talking about the same customers, but often firms are in competition with each other. So for example, you have McDonald's and they're not using bundling. They got a certain amount of customers. And there are other people going to other fast food restaurants. They could be going to Subway, Taco Bell, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's just KFC, but yet they could be going there. But now because you've introduced this bundle, this meals, so now people might think, well, wait a minute, they may actually prefer to now go to McDonald's, for example, instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken because it is actually cheaper. And if they're more or less indifferent between the food at both places, the cheaper price might actually bring them in. Because previously, you know, maybe they were just buying KFC because it was just a little bit cheaper. But now you've got the meal deals, now the meals are actually cheaper themselves. So let's just take a revisit again to our bundle. So now let's reduce the package down to $14, the bundle to $14. So as you can see now, we actually have person 7, 8, 10, 12, 15, and 20. So you've got 8, 10, and 12 and now buying the bundle instead of buying individually. And because of that, we are losing 10 cents of profit per person. And all of them, almost all, only 7, person 7 was still making extra profit out of them. And the others were making slightly less profit. Again, that's assuming that it's fixed. Fixed customers hasn't changed. We haven't attracted any from other businesses or companies. So at that point, profit would have dropped by, I think it's $1.30. But in this scenario, I've assumed you now got person 21. So this person maybe been going to another firm have now decided to come to your firm because of the lower price available because of the meal. So now the profit from them before without the bundle would have been nothing because they didn't come at all. But now because you have the bundle, they're paying for the bundle and you get a $2 profit out of them. And that $2 profit is greater than the $1.30 loss you got from your existing customers. So now you've got a profit of 70 cents. So you can see here, commodity bundling may initially, if you lower the price too low, might think you're making money, but losing money, sorry. But if you're attracting more people through this bundling, it could turn a profit. But it is a very interesting balancing act, because if you lower the price too much, you lose too much money from the existing customers and you might not be getting enough from the new customers. But if you don't lower it enough, maybe you want to attract new customers and you end up just with your existing customers who may actually be getting better off, getting a better price, and your profit could fall. So you really need to get the price of your bundle correct. So you need to get the type of goods in your bundle correct, as well as the pricing of the bundle correct. So it is a bit of a balancing act, but potentially if you're bringing in a lot of new customers, it could be very profitable. As I mentioned, from the consumer side of things, it's great as well, because you have a choice. You don't have to opt into the bundle. The bundle is just savings for you for stuff you may have bought anyway. Alright, almost the end of this video. Just wanted to mention one more thing, and that is bundling in terms of compatibility. So I mentioned about the PlayStation 4. I have a PlayStation 4. It's a lot of fun. Buy quite a few games on that, and if I bought a PlayStation 4, I'm only going to then be buying PlayStation 4 games. So there's a compatibility issue side of it. So I'm not going to be buying any Xbox games. It's simply because they do not work on my PlayStation 4. So I'll be buying PlayStation 4 games. So you kind of then get locked in, don't you, with the bundle. Let's say, for example, you may get certain deals on your PlayStation 4 games simply because of the compatibility side of it. And that's key, especially if you're buying it. Because when I bought my PlayStation 4, it came with the PlayStation, it came with like several games. They're like a fraction of the price, and also the controllers and stuff like that. Would have been a lot more to buy it separately, but they kind of want to lock you into the PlayStation. So make these very, very cheap in respect to something else. So for example, once I bought the PlayStation, then I've got very little incentive to then buy an Xbox, because I've got all these games available on the PlayStation 4. So if they make this bundle particularly attractive, then they can then make lots of money out of the games later on. But it's actually getting you locked into that compatibility initially. So consider that, again, another part of commodity bundling. Alright, so now I am actually at the end of this video. Hopefully you found it useful. I find commodity bundling a particularly interesting part of price discrimination. So like I said, it does counter price discrimination, because you are charging people different amounts because they've chosen a bundle or haven't chosen a bundle. But I see it as being beneficial to both sides, the buyers and the sellers, which I find a little bit contrary to maybe some of the other forms of price discrimination, like first degree and third degree, where the seller has control. They can prevent people coming in, or they can prevent people getting on the bus, or they can prevent people, from even getting healthcare, simply because of their mechanism of pricing. And I kind of don't really like that so much, but whereas I think you can get a win-win situation with certain types of second degree price discrimination, and commodity bundling would be one of those. But anyway, this is food for thought. There are people that don't like price discrimination because it is eating away at, the gains that we get in terms of our consumer surplus. But, think it over. Maybe go back and watch my other video about price discrimination, see what you think of those types as well. And, drop a comment and share what you think about it. Anyway, so if you like this video, remember to give it a like, or give it an upvote if you see it on Steam. And remember to either follow or subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.